All right, I'm here with Susanna Peredo-Swap, visionary arts leader here in San Diego and founder of Vanguard Culture, which is a local nonprofit that puts on interactive arts events all over the city. They also have a variety of creative industry mixers, some great speaker panels for the creative community, and also they're involved in all types of arts journalism. Susanna, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, Johnny.
Yeah, cool. So happy you're here. It's an honor. Just to get started, maybe you could tell us what exactly Vanguard Culture is. How did it start, and what is the objective or mission of the organization?
Yeah, thank you. So Vanguard Culture started. I started with this idea. I've lived a lot of lives in my career. I started in the theater, and I was a jazz vocalist and had a band here in downtown, various places. And then the accidents, I ended up curating at the airport authority. So they have a program there, and they have a performing arts series. And so I was curating, working with them in town, and all these wonderful visual artists and performing artists. I curated 80. And, one of the things that I found really fascinating was that they had very similar needs, like very similar with like resource management. And so I thought, well, it'd be really cool if I could just put all these people in the same room at the same time, because kind of live in silos, right? So you have the film community kind of lives in their own little bubble, and then theater and all and visual arts, and even there's silos inside of silos, right? So I have people in the same room at the same time, so they can know each other, they can talk to each other, and share research and support each other. And it would happen to me all the time when I'd meet like a little director that'd be like, do you know anyone who can dance this specific thing? And then the next day, do you know anyone with a projector? And so, yes, I do. Ended up being like this middle person between all these different industries. And so I started putting together called foodie soirees, where it basically like a potluck, but artists are creative. And so we'd have these events where we just brought the first 50 people that RSVP into, and everybody would bring something to share, and they'd bring something creative to share. So musicians would, artists would pop up an exhibition. And so that's where it started bringing people together. And now it's grown into this arts journal. So so we get about 8,000 to 10,000 hits a month on the website. We have about 18,000 subscribers. We're reaching over 500,000 people on social media a year. It's just been ever expected any of that to happen. And so that's the arts journalism side. We're 45 awards for excellence in journalism from the San Diego Press Club since we started. And then we also do professional development for creatives. That's a core part of our programming. We really want to make sure that we're taking it a step further and doing the things that they love. So we partner with organizations to help creatives, like, marketing and branding, finance management, for artists. We just had a wonderful workshop with mental wellness for artists, an organization here in town, at one of our creative industry symposiums, and that was a huge hit, helping people vision, values, and goals as they align with their mental health goals. And I think that's a big topic to tackle.
Especially with the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I learned through the pandemic personally is that we couldn't have survived without the arts, right? You go back to like March 2020, the world stopped, and nobody, like, okay, you're forced to stop for those of us that had the privilege to do that, right? And I've always wanted to start baking. I'm going to start baking now. Or I've always wanted to, teach myself the guitar. Or, they started diving into things that they never gave them and really tapped into their own essence. And even film, right? Like there was a moment, the tiger guy and octopus teacher and like these dumb thought that film wasn't going to happen anymore. We thought that was it. End, if you go back to that moment, you realize that what we needed was to feed our spirit. We needed to be human, touch into our humanity, and the arts did that. So, our events, if you're a creative, you are doing really important work right now, and so that's why we're trying to give folks the resources, the connections, the networking to help make of. And then the last thing that we do, the third part of our programming is our events. And are very purposeful. Like we bring creatives from very different industries that typically never intersect and try to put to our OG, mission is try to put them together and get them to work, collaborate, create something completely new that never would have happened had these two industries not gotten together. We've had events where we put like, an artist, a chef, or, like a poet and a scientist and say, okay, everyone respond to cleansing your craft. And so you get all these like super creative, pushing type things in response to something where they have to be in the same room. In that room, you have the science community, you have the spoken visual arts community, you have the chef culinary community, and they're all in the same room, rubbing elbows, talking. And so it's creating this. We do that often. We do that at all of our events, and it's created this beautiful community of people that we've connected to one another. And this is where we are now. 10 years in, we were featured on our programming, and for an event called Sensorium, where we did of a building, a condominium complex downtown.
Yeah, I was there. It was great. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we're doing a similar event, and later, unless you have questions, but I'm so excited that we get to do a like expanded version of that later this year.
Cool. Yeah, that's Envision 23, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. But I wanted to get into one of your focuses, it seems to me, just doing research for this interview, is attracting tourism to San Diego.
Yeah.
Why have you made that one of your objectives of Vanguard culture?
Well, that's something I've always been, I didn't grow up with a lot of money, but I've always been really brave, and I've always been really good at saving. So I've always prioritized travel. Like for me, that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to see the world. And when I was a young girl, I got, I think I was like 20, I don't know, like 20 scholarship to study at the Royal National Theatre in London.
Wow.
And it just completely blew my mind, and like transformed my world. And I started seeing San Diego a little bit differently and realizing that I really needed to travel. So I've lived in Paris, in New York, Mexico, meccas of the world, and I come to San Diego, and now through here, I realized that there's a lot of similarity. We have visionary programming here too. It's just that we don't tend to market destination. We tend to market it as this, sleepy beach town. Come do your hire, But there's great creativity that happens here in San Diego, and all the so I'm really passionate about putting that forward and trying to put us on the map as a cultural destination. We've been really passionate about. And
would you say we're overshadowed by Los Angeles somewhat?
Well, yes, the Hollywood contingent that brings the valuation of the art gallery prices up. That makes sense because, it's one of the highest median incomes in the world. So I get that. But that doesn't mean, sorry, LA, I love you guys, better art. Better creatives or anything like that. I think that we haven't really created the infrastructure and the financial support, the government side to support that, right? To really propel it as a destination. We're not seen as that.
What do you think the government could do to further that? What do you think the role of the government could be or should be? What are they lacking?
We're in an incredible moment in time right now for the history, for the arts and culture. So much funding that's now being driven in the government sector and then funneling back out into the arts. It's never happened before. Like the state of California, the California Arts Council just got a huge influx. If you follow SDRAC, San Diego Regional Arts and Culture communities that are coming up around the corner as well, both for individual artists and for organizations. Huge opportunities specifically for BIPOC artists, where there are, I think there's an informational session that Disco Riot they're doing a talk that's like an informational session with Felicia Shaw from Iraq. I forget who else is there. Justin Morrison, I think, a dancer. But they are that grant is like $25 for an individual artist to create.
How much per individual artist? You broke up there.
$25,000 per.
$25,000 per artist. Yeah.
Can you imagine? That's transformational. That's that amount to focus on their art, right? Like to do their work. So
right.
That's an opportunity. And then there's a similar version with available for arts organizations. And I don't have enough information about that because it's not about it. I will say that in the last few years, 3 to 5 years, the city of San Diego has really stepped up in funding.
Okay.
During during COVID, for example, the height of COVID, of course, everything from the city, they were reprioritizing, and there was a lot of fear that we were going to get defunded. It didn't happen.
Right.
And and now we're back to pre-level funding. The city council, pretty much every person on the city council arts. Our mayor is one of the biggest champions of the arts right now. So big to him of making sure that we're taking care of the arts community. And right now and then there was all that pandemic funding that came in from the government. So it's sort of in COVID, but now it's time to take it up a notch, right? Okay, let's not just don't just thrive, right? Help us take this to another level. And there's a bigger reason for that. Many people don't know that for arts organizations, we receive funding from the Commission for Arts and TOT dollars. So a percentage of transient occupancy tax, which is the hotels, when you're a traveler and you come and you stay at a hotel, or even locals, if you stay at a hotel, you'll see on your receipt a TOT tax, a transient occupancy tax. That fund a bunch of things in San Diego, infrastructure projects, all sorts of things, but it Mission for Arts and Culture. So more cultural tourism dollars in San Diego are a good thing. We will tourists to come and visit San Diego. And there's another.
I see. So you're saying the tourism tax on hotels that is collected from tourists staying at the hotels is funneled into the arts organizations to help artists thrive and concentrate on their work. Is that right?
Yeah, that's and and one thing that a lot of people don't know, and this is C work that needs to be happening to elected officials. There's an even big to put San Diego on the map as a cultural destination, a beach town, or the place to go surfing, or whatever it looks like now. There's been studies that have shown over and over and over again that cultural tourists and spend more money in the cities that they visit than a traditional tourist. It's not up to 60
Interesting.
more. So that means, if you
how
think
much
about
more
it,
percent? How much more percent?
I think it's like that more of a spend than a traditional tourist.
6%.
So, for example,
6%. You said? Sorry, you're breaking up.
62 or 63%.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
it is a lot.
I did not think that was a number you were saying. That's a lot.
62, right? No, 62 or 63. I think that's
wow.
The number. More of a spend traditional tourist. And so if you think about it, if you go to a city, right, you're probably going to go and maybe get an Airbnb by the beach, goes in some beers, and kind of call it a day, right? It's going to be your experience. You're going to have a great time at the beach. And then you're here, like if you're flying here to see a performance at the San Diego exhibitions that you're really excited about, you're probably going to go out to dinner to a nice restaurant that night. You're some cocktails. You might even go to see a show or a museum the next day. You're going to make it so that's the type of tourist that we want to attract here in San Diego, because then more money, occupancy tax dollars are going to help fund the arts. So that's what we're looking for.
Right, that makes sense, and it also helps fund other things too if they're spending a lot of money on, I don't know, share rides and going out and whatnot. So
restaurants, right, everywhere.
So you were talking about the city government and what they could do to help with tourism. And not just the city government, probably, but the county too. What would alleviating the homelessness crisis do for attracting tourists? Do you think that would be helpful? Should that be more of a priority?
Yeah, I have a very there's this very for the homeless community, and I have so much empathy. I don't have a solution because entire communities to fix something like that. It has gotten really, really, really. I think that COVID really heightened that, and it just sort of shows like how any one of us want to, rainy days away. Like many of these people, of course, there's maybe drug addiction problems or vets who didn't get this. Some of these things are mental health issues, of course, but a lot of people ended up on the street, them out of their apartments because they just couldn't, survive that. So and I lived in downtown. I've lived in downtown twice in my life, and so I know. I don't know what the solution is. I definitely think that any any vibrant city, we'll call San Diego the vibrant city, right? So any vibrant city should absolutely address this issue, because otherwise you can't attract the tourism that you're looking. So there is that issue, but on a bigger picture, you need to address it just because we're human, because we're just humans. We have to take care of the community, not necessarily because of the question kind of threw me off. I mean, I organizations, like Monarch School, who are working with that and there's support, the youth and children of the unhoused. Reason to Survive is one of those organizations. They just received a huge
right.
grant.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
I saw that.
that's fantastic. So there's a lot of, I think right now in San Diego to be excited. This is the moment to be excited because there's a lot of opportunities out there. Just inform yourself as much as possible. We're pretty connected with a lot of the locals, so follow us. Subscribe to our newsletter, and you'll receive that information. When you subscribe, it says, "Are you a creative industry professional?" Click yes, and if you say yes, then that is helpful to you.
And that's at the Vanguard Culture website.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So vanguardculture.org, and you'll see there's a button that says, "Are you a creative industry professional?" That's who we want to know. We want to know who you are as a creative in the creative industries. It's our mission to advance San Diego's creative. So we absolutely want to know you. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think is the most significant challenge to the San Diego arts and culture industry?
I think it's lack of organization. I think it's I've seen in the last decade started the issue that we were trying to fix was this sort of culture of created
sort of culture of what?
Of competition.
Culture of competition. Okay.
Yeah. So, for example, for many years we were all sort of fighting for the mission for arts and culture, and it's really very challenging to submit a grant for someone who's just like a super small nonprofit. It's really not traditionally been very accessible, and now I definitely see things evolving, and I'd like to say that Vanguard culture is transitioning into a culture of collaboration. We were before. So I think the biggest challenge is sort of when artists, creatives from film, theater, dance, visual arts, music, whatever industry you're in, the biggest danger for you is to think that you can do it all yourself. The danger to you is to think that you have to do it all yourself. It's not reaching out that can help you. So even though you're a museum, a small museum or a large, there's so much value in collaborating with smaller organizations and across different, because you're not only not only for the virtuosity that happens as a creativity that happens as a result, the content creation, but also because of those relationships. Sometimes you can, what we did throughout the pandemic, and we created a series of creative industry roundtables. And so all we were doing was creatives to the same room at the same time, virtually, from all these different industries, and just talk. What are you doing? Are you requiring masking? How are you moving bodies through spaces? Are you able to rent your space? What are you doing about the anti-maskers? Like all these conversations. Yeah, it was. But if you think about like the performing arts in particular, they were all of us in visual arts as individual artists, we were expected to continue creating, but they couldn't charge the same as they could before for the same. So you still, museums still had overhead, they had salaries that they had to pay, but they couldn't get, theater companies weren't able to fill their seats. Literally, they had to, and everyone expected that stuff to be free. Right. Instead of, you're not going to pay $15 during the pandemic, but you're not going to charge $45, $50 to go see the mentality just changed. And so even now, the folks in the theater community are way below capacity still to this day, even though it feels like they're still not there. They're still really, really struggling. And even before,
Oh, wow.
ticket sales only 8% or so of their overall revenue, like of their budget. So grants and donations and all sorts of other resources. So
you said tickets were how much percent?
Traditionally, theaters only, the ticket fees only pay
what?
30%.
30% of the overhead.
Yeah. Yeah. So so when you're going out, if you love theater, you're really, you're supporting the organization, but maybe consider also making an additional donation because for what it costs to build the sets, pay the salaries, the promotions, the marketing, all the things that are involved in producing a production. But yeah, I think the biggest danger is to stay in your silo. The biggest danger is to not to think that you need to or have to or want to do it all by yourself. You don't. You don't have to do it out. And trust me, people are going to be way more receptive than you think. Don't be intimidated by thinking the San Diego Opera. I could never call, any or these. Don't be intimidated. Everyone is looking to collaborate right now. Everybody is in need of collaboration, and they want to connect with very new communities. So, yeah,
that's great.
That's my answer.
Yes, that's a good answer. So more connection, more networking, more collaboration in the arts and culture industry. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So you have this event coming up, Envision 23. It sounds pretty cool, interactive art. Let us know what that's about and let us know what you want us to know about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So we're producing the biggest thing that we've ever attempted. Big things, right? And so this festival is a visual taking over 2 blocks of a 2-block radius of the in Logan Heights. We're partnering with an organization called Co-Place.
Where in Logan Heights? The convention center?
Street. Commercial
Street. Got it.
And a organization called Co-Place, who owns various properties along that corridor. They're allowing us to transform. So it's warehouses, empty lots, streetscapes, all sorts of industrial type spaces. And so we're inviting people to participate. There's an open call. The deadline is March 1st. And there is an informational session this Friday at 11 o'clock and at 12 o'clock for visual artists and for performing artists to come in, pop in, ask us questions. What makes a good proposal? What are we looking at? Overview. You're going to get to see the properties and see the venues to get inspired. We're highlighting, the virtuosity of San Diego's arts and culture community. So we're film, theater, dance, visual arts, music, museums, all the people, to try to creatives from both sides of the border. One of our strategic partners for this festival is the World 24. You may know that San Diego and Tijuana.
Oh, well, sorry. What's the strategic partner? You cut out there.
Yeah, World Design Capital, San Diego. So you may know that San Diego and Tijuana were recently designated World Design Capital. And it's a huge deal for our region. It's the national, and some say tri-national, if you want to, honor the sovereignty of the community. Tri-national designation ever in the history of World Design Capital. It's the first to receive the designation, so it's a huge deal for our region. And both entities in San Diego and Tijuana, we have curators from both sides of the border that are, curate a lineup that is fantastic and exciting, looking for experiential, immersive, this type of visual art experiences. So we're not looking necessarily for like art thing that feels more interactive in some way, or that you feel way. So for example, it could be like I'm typing up something fashion over here, and 5 minutes later it gets projected onto the wall, or you drop in a little piece of something that turns into a pile, that turns into a sculpture. You rip something off. We're looking for things that feel unique and transformative. And for the performing arts, same, right? Like we're looking for things that are thoughtful, intentional, in response to the changes and challenges of our contemporary, responsive to the community that we're in Logan Heights, right? We want to make sure that we are in this community of Logan Heights, that they feel seen and that they feel heard. And so we're doing a lot of work there with that community and making sure that like they're a part of it. So anyway, the session at 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock, you're all invited to come join in, even just listen in. And part of the reason that we did the informational sessions, and this is a little bit tough love, but I love you, is that creatives, when you graduate film school, whatever your degree is in theater, whatever it was, you don't get, they don't usually teach you the business side, professional artists. Like they don't teach you how to market and brand yourself, your taxes, or any of those things. And so sometimes you get a little audition if you're an actor and all of that. But how do you submit a proposal? So, for example, are like, hey, I'd really like to be a part of your festival. Here's a link to my website. What do you do with this? You want me to imagine what you can do to this? Like
I get that stuff all the time.
Yeah, and there's a group of curators, like people, thoughtfully spent many hours putting together all and discussed it at length. At every single word that went in there meant something. We're asking that you put that same amount of care and attention to the words that we're asked to submit, these bullet points. And so please take that time and do that. It speaks to, and not just for our open call, but for everyone. It's like if you pay attention to what they're asking from you and you're responsive to that, you are a person that's good to work with, right?
Right.
Like you're gonna be communicative, you're gonna be, available. Like, if you, right, when I worked at the airport authority, I curated 80 exhibitions, but I reviewed thousands, right? And so I got a good sense of like
thousands of applications to be artists there.
Yeah, like what's a good application look like, what it doesn't look like. If you're submitting all your images and they're all, everybody has to do this to really appreciate it. So pay attention to details, right? Like there's ways to submit and then not.
Right.
So we're here.
My
to
favorite
help you.
is when I get emails that say, "Hey, want to check out my stuff?" and they don't tell me the website or anything.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally a bullet point that says name, email, because we get that. We'll get a full submission with no contact information.
Oh, yeah.
I work with you. Like I have to Google people. So
yeah,
kind of nurturing of our community and making sure
that's good.
that we're there. This workshop will be good for if you're interested for visual or performing arts, but it'll also just be good for you if you're interested in kind of knowing what a good so please join us. Anyway, the Envision Festival, I'll say a couple more things about. Super exciting. The event is going to be rad. We've already secured like Fashion Week San Diego, full scale fashion show there. We have animated film shorts that are going to Coronado Island Film Fest. Filipino cinema, San Diego Filipino cinema is participating. San Diego Opera, their scene shop is right there on that corridor, so they're very excited about participating. Dance theater is going to be activating, because this is on a trolley line.
Oh,
it's
which
like literally
dance theater?
San Diego Dance Theater. If you've ever heard of
San
trolley
Diego
dance,
Theater. Oh yeah, I heard of
yeah,
that.
activate trolley dances that night. So
Oh, nice.
you actually hop on the trolley and then arrive at our festival. So they're participating there. Art Walk, San Diego Walk, if you remember those chalk artists.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to do a chalk walk for us. Organization called Westward Entertainment, and they are festival producers. They do huge festival people type level. They've worked with like Lizzo and Billie Eilish, and like they're producing all the food and drink component of the festival. And then our hope is that community loves it and all the things. This is going to be a part of World Design Capital 2024 as a part of. We're working really hard. We've got an incredible team of people to produce this, and so we hope that you apply and that you want to be a part. For anyone who's out there listening, if you want to sponsor an artist, that is also an opportunity for a part of the festival to make sure that an artist can participate that you're really passionate about this summation.
Okay, great. And how can they find, like, where do they go? Vanguard Culture website?
Yeah, I'm gonna offer you a link, because the link is a little bit long right now. For the public announcement of the festival itself is not live yet, so that's why it's kind of sneaky. But generally, if you want to follow us, you will receive more information if you sign up to our newsletter at Vanguard.
Okay.
But I'll send you a link that you can share with others, for the live broadcast, and you can follow us on Facebook. Both of those events are on our Facebook page, so follow us there.
Are you gonna continue doing these workshops after this week? Because this podcast won't be live until next week.
Those will be recorded, and they'll live in our YouTube page.
So good.
Anybody
so you could check out the broadcast and get all the information and good business tips, probably.
So subscribe to our YouTube page, and as soon as they go live, you'll get a notification, and you'll receive. Yeah.
Nice. So Vanguard Culture YouTube page for the live workshop, or the recorded workshop broadcast, to find out more about participating in Vision 23. All right. So last question: what is your outlook for local arts in the future, short term and long term? Are you optimistic? Are you worried? Anxious? Full of doom?
Yeah. Doom and gloom. No, I'm done with the doom and gloom, man. That's over. I'm very optimistic for the arts right now. I feel like, as I was saying before, incredible time to be in San Diego. I mean, not only, you had the expansion of music that, received international coverage. You had the revamp of the Mingay International Museum, national coverage by New York Times and The Guardian. You had, which is a huge deal. It's going to have millions of international eyeballs. Faith Juana, really, really highlight this creative sector. Lots of funding coming in from the and even the city, is upping their game and making the nations like easier to apply to and more equitable. Hearing so much in once you receive that has been a big burden in the past that they're fixing, they're addressing, to make it a little more equitable opportunities for BIPOC artists right now in particular. So I know if you ever wanted to get involved and get excited, this is the moment. So follow like San Diego Regional Arts and Culture Coalition and Emerging Diego and the Black Artist Collective, Vanguard Culture. There's a lot of wonderful work out there, and thank you for putting this platform out there also this is a great resource. So, yeah, I'm hopeful. I definitely am.
Cool. Well, Susanna, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Susanna Peredo-Swap, founder of Vanguard Culture. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Johnny. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.